Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the PSBlue Podcast. This is episode number 7. My lucky number. I was 77 in hockey. I was born on the 7th. So episode 7 is going to be good, Vinny. I know it. How are you doing today?
Couldn't agree with you anymore, Anthony. I'm doing really well. Very excited. A lot of interesting topics. And what about you? How you feeling?
I am ready to go. I'm happy we're recording in the morning and not at 6 at night all the way to 10 or 11 p.m. because I don't know. I felt like we dragged a little bit in that episode, and I feel like we're bringing good energy to this episode. So we're recording on a Monday morning, which is atypical for us, but I like the morning vibe, if you will.
Couldn't agree anymore. Got a nice cup of coffee right here. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about. Get straight into the point. I'm just as excited as you are, man.
So, talking about getting straight to the point, Sifu, talk to me about it. Did you beat it?
Oh boy, you're gonna put me on the spot right at the beginning of the episode. No,
Absolutely.
I didn't beat Sifu. I think
God.
what we're gonna have to do here, and I have reasons for this, and it'll make more sense when we talk about the game. But this will be more of an impressions. I'm gonna have to give impressions on this one, and I think you're gonna see my side of this story and as to why I didn't finish Sifu. So, for
Okay.
those viewers, stick around to the end because I have a lot to say about the game, even though I didn't beat it. So, a lot of interesting things.
Okay, yeah. So we'll be talking about Sifu today. I guess we won't have an all-encompassing review, but I mean we it absolutely could because I've played it and beaten it because I guess I'm just better at video games than you are, but we won't we won't get into that quite right now. As far as what I've been playing, I've just been, playing my UPS delivery simulator, Death Stranding. It's quite the game. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't wanna give anything away, but I'd give you another week on Sifu if I wasn't so anxious to talk about this game next week. So next week, Death Stranding, for your consideration, I will be reviewing that game. And then a lot of PlayStation Plus extra titles. I've been bouncing around the catalog, as one does when they're presented with hundreds of new games to play. What am I playing right now on that catalog? Matterfall, one of Housemarque's lesser known titles, like more single player driven. Gravity Rush, I checked that out for a few hours, liked it, never played it. Some other stuff too. I downloaded The Artful Escape last night and played that for about 10 minutes. So I don't know how you did it on Game Pass, but I've just been bouncing around, bouncing from one game to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and it's like it's a little bit overwhelming, I have to admit.
That's an excellent point because that problem does exist on Game Pass for me as well, where you can find yourself kind of bouncing between games, not beating them, and it just depends on what you're craving for that particular moment. But you're absolutely right; it can be overwhelming, and based on the catalog that we've discussed in previous episodes, there's a lot of games here in this tier. So yeah, man, I suffer from that same issue, and the hope is that one game grabs you enough to where you kind of stick with it and you focus on that. But yeah, I absolutely have that same exact issue with Game Pass. You couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah, it's just a lot of bouncing around until something finally like gets its hooks in you. I hate to say that because it's such like a I feel like it's a cliche at this point. The game getting its hook, but it's true. It's true. That's exactly what I was waiting for, and it actually happened to me with Wolfenstein. That was the one game that I actually played all the way to the end. So I'm on the last level in that. I intend on beating it today, but other than that, I've just been bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. But we got a pretty exciting episode today. I know I say that every week, but I really like some of these topics this week. I'm super pumped about Skate. That's the topic that I'm really excited to talk about. But today's topics include Sonic Frontiers, Strangers of Paradise DLC, Sifu, Skate, as I already mentioned, and more. But first, the quote of the week. Vinny, why don't you read out my quote from last week's episode?
That's right, Anthony. You got the bestowing upon you the biggest honor in our podcast. That is the quote of the week. This is you from last week regarding Forspoken, particularly the gameplay demo that we talked about last week. This is the quote. You said regarding Forspoken, the way that the material comes off of the main character when she jumps, what is that? It's like string. It looks like string cheese or something. It looks like mozzarella cheese coming off of her arms. Like, what is that? It's like a PS2 texture. Do you not see this? Anthony, I hope I did you justice with my reiteration of the quote. I think it's very well told. I'm in complete agreement with you. What are your thoughts on what you had to say?
I have not wanted one of us to be more wrong about a quote so far in the history of this podcast. It comes from a place of love. Was so excited when I saw the initial sort of first couple of videos of Forspoken, and this gameplay video made me so upset. And that was just passion. It wasn't a joke that was like something I was trying to think of. I came up with it on the spot. It's just that's what happens when you're passionate about games. You start to reference food product like mozzarella cheese and string cheese. I mean, it really did look like that. And then, I don't really want to talk about it. You said enough just saying the quote. All right, let's on that note, let's jump into it. And I will say this first game that we're going to talk about, I don't know, man. It's between this and Forspoken for which game looks like more total shit. Sonic Frontiers.
Oh, gosh. We have such a negative podcast, Anthony. We need to get some lighthearted topics here.
I don't know. I think we're fine. We're fine. The audience is starting to see our true colors. But what do you think about Sonic Frontiers? I've never been a Sonic fan. I've always, I don't know, that it was too fast, and I feel like, I don't know. I feel like there's just something about it that never really clicked with me. It's more about going fast than it is about platforming, in my opinion. Now, Sonic fans, do not at me, please. I promise you, if, given the opportunity, I will play Sonic and you can prove me wrong. But for now, I'm going to keep my stance that I think Sonic is nowhere near the same tier as Donkey Kong, is nowhere near the same tier as Mario, is nowhere near the same tier as Crash Bandicoot. Okay? So when I see something like Sonic Frontiers and I see a game that is going in 7 different directions in literally 1 minute of new gameplay, I don't know what to think. I don't have any loyalty to this mascot. So it's hard for me to be excited about something like this. I take it at face value. That's what's different about something like Kingdom Hearts, where I have such a loyalty to that brand that I'm willing to give it more chances. So if you are a Sonic fan, I could see this being potentially something that you visit. But Vinny, what are your thoughts on Sonic Frontiers?
Well, Anthony, to that point, it sounds like Sonic fans are right there with you, though. It sounds like there's kind of this unanimous negativity to this game with regards to the community and not liking what they're seeing. I'm just like you. I have no sort of attachment to Sonic. I respect people that enjoy that game. I know they released, I want to say a few years back, maybe 1-2 years back, they released kind of this retro collection, I want to say. It may have been for Switch, may have been on PlayStation. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I know it was very well regarded. It was kind of a coming back to form for Sonic, and that's great, and I'm happy that people had that experience. But Frontiers, Dude, this does not look good. I'm sorry. I hope I'm wrong. I don't wish that this game is going to be bad, but it looks like a tech demo, what we're seeing here. It just gives me that sort of tech demo-y vibe, very early in development, not really quite finished. And like you said, a lot of different ideas going on here without sort of a real direction or idea of what it actually is. It's just kind of a bunch of different ideas kind of thrown together with the Sonic kind of mascot, like you said. Obviously, Skyrim, or I'm sorry, not Skyrim, Breath of the Wild. I think that's the biggest probably influence for this based on the world that we're seeing. Very big open world, and it's almost like they said, let's make Breath of the Wild but with Sonic. But the problem is this, from what we're seeing, I want to preface that because like you said, we haven't played this game. Maybe we will, and maybe it comes out and it really blows people away. it just looks so empty and barren, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of fun stuff to do in the world. All the gameplay that they showed, it looks kind of boring. I don't know why you're going around collecting these coins. They keep showing the same. I know they did I want to say like an 18-minute deep dive on IGN maybe about a month prior to this gameplay trailer coming out, and that just got destroyed by the community. It was barren. It looked like it had no direction. It looked like it needed probably another 2-3 years of development, which I think this gameplay trailer is I feel the exact same about this gameplay trailer. It looks super just uninteresting, and maybe it is that I don't have any sort of connection with Sonic, but it seems like the community's right there with you. The Sonic, diehard fans are right there with you, where they may not want this game. They probably would prefer just another Sonic 2D platformer, speed game, as opposed to this, because this just it doesn't look like fun. It really doesn't. And it's upsetting because I know Sonic is important to a lot of people. The movies have clearly, kind of helped get that mascot back and bring it back to kind of relevancy, or to make it more relevant. I'm upset. I'm upset with what I'm seeing. I have no interest in playing this whatsoever. I think this game comes out, it gets 6s, 7s, and it's just going to move on. What you have any more thoughts on this and what I said? What any more to add?
I mean, I will say this, to quote you, I think if this game gets 6s or 7s, they're going to be doing backflips, because that would be very, very, very high. Vinny almost spit his coffee out.
I did. Yeah.
But I think that would be a high mark for a game like this. It's not like it looks bad. It just looks generic and empty. Like, it doesn't look like a PS2 game. It looks like like you said, a tech demo for Unreal Engine 4 or 5 or whatever it's running on. Who knows what it's running on? But you said that you're very upset about this, or disappointed, or I can't remember the word you just used, but that's more than I can say. I am so just blah about that. I don't really care. Sonic has never really, like I said, I've never really had any loyalty to Sonic. I know you haven't either, but I wasn't expecting anything out of this, because I haven't expected anything out of Sonic the entire time I've known him. No offense, Sonic, but I mean, some of your best work was done in tandem with Mario, Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, great game. That's a great game.
I mean, but Mario was doing the heavy lifting there. I don't know. I don't want to shit on Sonic too much more. I wish him all the best, but
Well, Anthony, to that point, if this was a mascot that I really genuinely cared about, if this was a Donkey Kong game, or any mascot, any of them, a Jack and Daxter game. Well, I don't know. Maybe I would be a little bit more excited if it was a Jack and Daxter game, because I love Jack and Daxter. But I still think we'd be saying the same critiques here. I don't think it's necessarily us being not attached to Sonic. I think that probably adds to I think that definitely adds to our skepticism of the game. But this gameplay trailer speaks for itself, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's hard to watch this gameplay trailer. I think even if you're a Sonic fan and say, man, can't wait for this, it just looks totally barren and, to use your words, blah. It looks very blah. I couldn't agree more.
I'm watching the IGN video that they had that you were referencing, and there's like I said, this game's going in 17,000 different directions. There's a puzzle in the 7-minute little tech demo where you're just walking on blue squares, and that's the entire puzzle.
So boring. Looks so. It's
I don't
unreal.
know,
Unreal.
I will say this. Now I see what you were seeing with Forspoken. I kind of took my rose-colored glasses off with that game, and I think one of these games is going to actually be good, and part of just the person that I am, I always get excited about something and then try and be a realist again, and bring myself back to reality, so I'm not completely devastated when something doesn't live up to my expectations. And I'm hoping that's what I'm doing with Forspoken, because I really want that game to be good. But I kind of am categorizing Sonic Frontiers tech demo and Forspoken tech demo in the exact same category, uh, for lack of a better word. And it's sad. It's really sad that that's the case. But our next topic, if you are ready to move on, I would love to move on.
Well, let me
Yes.
ask you one last thing on that
Okay,
topic.
go
Not
ahead.
to just one more thing because I was looking up for a release date for this game, Sonic Frontiers. It still kind of has a vague 2022, late 2022 release date. I think they should delay this. I think they should delay it, give themselves more time. Honestly, 2 years. Just set it aside, make everybody forget about it, and then come back after 2 years, put some stuff in this world, and that I think that's the winning formula. But I don't think they're going to do it. What do you
God,
think? You think this game's coming out this year? Do you think it
I'm gonna
comes out
sound
this
like
year?
such an asshole in this
I,
episode, but I think they should just release it and rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with, because the game's not gonna be good.
This game's
I
gonna be
don't.
shit either way, pretty much.
They could take 7 years. They could take 14 years. It's not gonna be good. I don't know, man. I don't know. I kind of sound like a jerk towards Sonic, but maybe it's that. There was a huge rivalry between Sega and Nintendo back in the day, and maybe I didn't realize it, but that was something that is sort of embedded in my DNA as a Nintendo loyalist from back in the day. I don't really play Nintendo anymore, but there was a competition between Sonic and Mario, and there used to be ads that would run on TV that would sort of say, Mario's slow, Sonic is so much faster and cooler, and this might be a little bit of karma, you know? I don't know. The movies are doing really well, and I'm happy to see that. I'm also happy that they interacted with their community on that and changed, the design of Sonic based on what the community feedback was. Although, God, what is wrong with me and Sonic? I have a conspiracy that they did that on purpose to sort of promote the game in a very valiant guerrilla marketing effort, which I would respect them for it if that was true, but I kind of think that they put that weird Sonic, ugly Sonic out on purpose. But topic for another day. Let's talk about Gotham Knights. I'm excited about this. And I didn't think it was going to be until I saw this trailer. So a few days ago, WB Montreal released a new gameplay trailer for Robin. And I got to say the game's looking a lot more polished. It's looking like, a game that's about to come out, and I couldn't be happier. This is not a game that I was even remotely interested in, to be honest with you. But after seeing this trailer, it's sort of piqued my interest a little bit more. I would say uh, I'm a lot more likely to pick this one up now after seeing this trailer. Benny?
I think we're on opposite sides here because I still have no interest in playing this game. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I think it looks very just by the book. I don't see anything here that I'm like genuinely. I'm not like, we kind of spoke about Sonic earlier. I don't have an attachment to any of these characters. Robin, I'm not sure what the other ones are. I think maybe Catwoman is in here as well. Or no, it's Batgirl, I think is the one. I don't really have an attachment to any of these characters, and I think their original gameplay trailer that came out, I want to say this came out like a year ago, and when you were hitting people, numbers were kind of popping up, and it looks a little bit like not like an MMO, but like an RPG, which I do think is a cool idea to make these games kind of have RPG elements to them, and it seems like that's the route that they're going here, is to make kind of Batman Arkham into a, I'm going to say that word, live service, which already scares me. I get live servicey vibes from this game, Anthony. I got some red flags going on here.
No.
It has
Absolutely.
multiplayer. It has
No.
multiplayer. It has co-op, I believe.
Oh,
It's just kind of one of the best parts about the Batman Arkham games, and why those games to me were not necessarily the only reason why they were amazing, but the best part was kind of the fighting elements to that game, right? It took 1 to 2 shots to just knock people out, and you felt powerful. You felt like Batman. In this game, I've seen gameplay clips where it takes like 20, 30 shots to get someone down. You don't really feel like a superhero, in my opinion, from the gameplay that I've seen. So I have some red flags here. I don't like that they're going in the RPG direction. I think you could have light RPG elements to this game. I'm not excited. I'm still not excited. I'm going to have to see. It sounds like, I believe this game was delayed from a year ago. I think it was supposed to come out last year, and then they probably realized that they needed to touch it up a little bit more and fix some of the gameplay elements. But I don't know, man. I got some red flags on this one. I'm not willing to see past those, even though this gameplay trailer does look pretty cool. It does. It does look like, it looks like it could be fun. There's just too many red flags here. And also, this is not Rocksteady. This is WB Montreal, who I believe did
Right.
They did the Batman game. What was the other Batman game that came out? It was after
Didn't they do
Asylum.
Origins?
Batman Origins, yes. Arkham Origins, which apparently was a good game, but it was a buggy disaster. So a lot of red flags here. I don't know if I'm liking what I'm seeing, Anthony. I'm surprised that you're excited for this. You're going to have to be the tester for this one, because I can't do it.
Let me reiterate. I said I was more excited than I was before. I'm not really like a fan. I haven't been following this game super closely, but I just wanted to sort of challenge something you said. You said you don't feel like a superhero. It doesn't look like you're going to feel like a superhero. In the last 45 seconds of this trailer, Robin goes invisible, takes his like baton thing and spins it around in a super circle, and then does a backflip and hits someone with it. So that's pretty superhero-esque to me. I don't know what else you want this poor. I don't know what else you want this poor kid to do.
The problem is that it takes 8 of those backflip hits to take someone down in this game. That's the problem.
Well, how do you know that? How can you say that?
This is from the early gameplay that we've been shown. This is a known issue with this game. Any sort of actual like broken down gameplay. We're gonna have to look at some gameplay for this. Maybe next week's podcast, so we could touch on this a little bit. But that is a huge problem with this game that I see, is that, and then there's leveling up in this game, which I think is a little odd. Am I the only one that thinks that? Am I taking crazy pills for thinking that? I don't know if I like RPG elements in this game. I really don't think this is the kind of game for that. And I don't think that Batman Arkham even had any of that. Batman Arkham, you kind of upgraded your equipment. There wasn't a leveling up system. Nothing like that.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you level up in Spider-Man. Do you not?
I want to say that maybe you do level up in Spider-Man. It's been a while since I played that game. I know that you unlock different abilities, I suppose, as you level up, right? In Spider-Man, you unlock different kind of maneuvers. So, I'm kind of going back and forth here, but I don't know, man. I'm not looking forward to this. I'm surprised that you're high on this game now.
I stop putting words in my mouth. I didn't say I was high on that.
Sounds like you're ecstatic.
Listen, we just ripped Sonic a new one, and then you're gonna do the same thing to Gotham Knights. Like, what? Who's gonna listen to this podcast when we're just like shitting on literally every single thing that comes our way? What standards do we have? What video games are we willing to play?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Listen, you're the one that's making. We're going back and forth with these topics. You're choosing these games that look like dog shit. I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. All right. I do think that this looks better than Sonic. I want it for proper context. I would actually play this game. Sonic looked like, gobbledygook. It looked like trash. So this one I would genuinely play. I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping both games are good. This is
Let me tell you where I'm at with Gotham Knights, and then we'll move on to our next topic. So when I first saw it, I couldn't be less interested in it. And now, after seeing this Robin trailer, it is a game that I think I will probably pick up during a slow season when it goes on sale for $20 and I have nothing else to play. That's what I'm looking at for this game. I've been itching for that Arkham Asylum sort of gameplay. But I haven't. The only Arkham game I played was the original Arkham Asylum, and all 3 of them are on PlayStation Plus. It's nothing like that. I don't want to play a game that old at this point, because while those games did sort of lay the foundation for all these superhero games that were to come, it's still an older game at this point, and I want to go on to something new, and it might scratch that itch for me. So,
yeah, Anthony, to that point, to wrap it up, they it's actually funny that you bring that up because I've been craving a game just like this, just like you. And they released the Arkham Asylum collection a few years back. This was on PlayStation 4, Xbox One. Do you know what I'm referring to? It came back a
Yeah.
while ago.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's not a great port. It's not like
Oh,
it's not like an ideal. It's not like a genuine upgrade of those games. Because I would love to replay Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City again. Not necessarily Arkham Knight. I didn't enjoy Arkham Knight that much. But the first two games, if they remastered those, it's not going to happen. But it's funny that you bring that up because I was looking to see if I could get these games again, and apparently the ports just aren't very great. So it's upsetting.
it's just annoying because I know, spoiler alert, that Batman dies. So like there's no dramatic tension for me in playing as Batman. I don't know. That's a personal thing for me. I'm sure other people are like, "Oh, what the hell is wrong with you? Just play it. It's just a video game." But like for me, it just like sort of spoils it for me. So once that was taken from me, I kind of lost my dude. Do you remember the not to completely cut off my thought, but do you remember the Scarecrow sequences? Holy
Oh
crap!
my gosh, so cool. Such an amazing sequence. But I think
Those
there were
were
multiple sequences throughout that
there were
original game.
multiple. Yeah,
And
they
oh
were
my goodness. Out of
holy crap.
nowhere, so cool.
And this is in like I want to say the early 2010s, maybe even earlier than that, that this game came out. And it's like there was nothing like that on the market. It was so innovative at the time. Um, yeah, those games were good. They were really good. Okay, moving on. This is a website that I was not expecting to quote on this podcast, but CNBC actually has something for us. And on one of their articles on CNBC.com, we see that Sony is launching its own range of gaming focused computer monitors and headsets, hoping to tap into the lucrative high end PC gaming market as it looks beyond its main PlayStation console brand. Again, this is courtesy of CNBC.com. Vinny, what do you have to say about that?
I think it's really interesting. I think it's a long time coming. I was surprised. Even when I read this, I was like, does Sony not have a gaming monitor? You know, I have a Sony TV. Obviously, they've been in the TV market for a very long time. Not any monitors. When you genuinely think about it, I was like, oh my goodness, they don't make monitors. You know, you've never seen a Sony monitor before. It's just truly a bizarre thing to think about. And this is really cool. I think this is awesome. First of all, the M9 monitor, the gaming monitor, that kind of their flagship gaming monitor of the InZone, it's the InZone M9. I think all the monitors look really cool. They look like they will match the PlayStation 5 perfectly. That's clearly what the sort of aesthetic that they were going for was kind of futuristic. Clearly going to put this by the side of my PlayStation 5. These monitors look like they're built from the ground up for PlayStation 5, which has me personally very excited. And I'm considering picking this up. I'm happy that Sony is doing this. I'm happy they're giving people an opportunity to, purchase an actual gaming monitor with all the bells and whistles that's going to run everything perfect. Everything's going to look amazing. All your games are going to look great. And the reviews have come out for the monitors, and apparently they're great monitors, amazing gaming monitors. I think they're reasonably priced as well, which I'm pretty surprised on. I think Sony's done a good job of they used to be known as like a really expensive, brand. And now they've kind of changed that, outlook on them. And now they have reasonably priced TVs, not necessarily cheap, but actually like, genuinely affordable for, most, hopefully, some people, right? These are reasonably priced, $900 for 4K 27-inch gaming monitor that runs at 144 hertz. That's really impressive. And apparently the HDR capabilities of the monitors are second to none, like really top tier. I'm interested in this, and it's actually funny because I've been looking for a gaming monitor because I've been using the same gaming monitor for probably the last 6 years.
Yeah, you've been
And
saying
I
that.
love it. And I love it. And but it's time. It's time for me to move on. It's time for me to, go out and get another one. I think these look really cool. The stands. Do you see these stands? The stands look really bizarre. At first, you think that
Yeah.
it's just hanging on that one little, pipe or bottom piece, but I don't know. I like the look of it. I'm happy that they're doing it. What do you think, Anthony? What are your thoughts on them entering this realm? And the headsets look really cool too, by the way. I know I didn't touch on that too much, but I think they look really good, and apparently those are good too.
I think CNBC, a little tiny baby company, was right on the money with their analysis that Sony is trying to really uh, break into this PC world. And it's very interesting. Now, I didn't actually have an opinion on the monitor itself. I think it would be a really cool luxury accessory, but I am so into playing on a big TV, and I've actually been in the market for a new TV. I don't think I'm going to get one anytime soon, but I'm more on the OLED TV sort of end of the spectrum, and I kind of want to go that route. I like a big sort of home theater environment, but hardcore multiplayer gamers, the 144 hertz that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. $900 is it's not cheap, but it's a good price point. It really is. But what I was gonna say is this article. It's a little tiny baby article, but it's a much bigger deal than I think uh, it seems like at first glance. Because what we have here is an actual tangible indication that Sony wants PC. This is a new era of the quote unquote console wars. We have Xbox versus PlayStation, but we don't have Xbox versus PlayStation in just the console space anymore. It's the brand space. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I love the idea that the console wars, quote unquote, is back in full effect. I don't know if I'm like super pumped about it, but I do know this. Sony wants to get into the market share for PC gaming because it's dominated by Microsoft right now. You could make the argument that Epic Games has the Epic Games Store, and that's doing pretty well as well, but Microsoft dominates. And it's Microsoft and Steam and then everybody else. You know what I mean? So with Game Pass, it's kind of hard to compete. So I think what you're seeing here is uh, a much more forward Sony that's trying to get one step ahead here, and they want to. To me, this is almost confirmation that their services are coming to PC. Do you agree with that?
Totally agree. I think there's more to it than just them releasing kind of PC monitors to this story. I think you said it so perfectly, and they definitely see the success of. It looked like they dipped their toe in the water with the Horizon PC port. Then they realized how well that sold, and I know they did Days Gone, which is like a huge PC game. Apparently, that game did insanely well on PC. And
Yeah.
now you're seeing these PC ports, these God of War, Uncharted collection, now Spider-Man's coming out. And I think Sony right now, they're at the point where it just makes too much sense. There's too much. These games are they're way too successful on the PC platform for them to not keep doing this and investing more into PC. I know they've just recently invested internally. I want to say it's some form of an internal studio. I'm not sure if the studio has a name. I think it's just an internal studio that they run that is specifically designed for PC ports of PlayStation games. And they're clearly investing in this, which I think is the right move for them. I'm happy that more people get the opportunities to play these amazing games without necessarily having to own a PlayStation console. Sony was clearly very reluctant to do this, but now they're going all the way in. They clearly are. So you're absolutely right, and it just makes too much sense.
To your point earlier, though, you said that the monitor it would go perfectly with the PS5 aesthetically and just as far as core fundamental use. And I went to Sony's website while we were talking, and they say right on there, this is perfect for your PS5. So it's not like they're abandoning the PlayStation 5, PlayStation sort of, identity. What I'm saying is they want to make an extension of it. So you can play our games on PC or you can play it on PlayStation. And I always think that they're going to be maybe one generation, not generation, one iteration behind. In other words, you're not going to get Horizon Forbidden West anytime soon. When Horizon 3 is on the cusp, then you get Horizon Forbidden West. You know what I mean? You don't get it after the game comes out. You get it while the game's gaining sort of momentum. Right before it comes out, boom, Forbidden West is going to be on PC, in my opinion. I still think you're going to have to purchase a Sony console or a Sony service to get these exclusives. You know what I mean? But to me, this is all but confirming PlayStation Plus on PC. And you heard it here first on PS Blue.
That's interesting. I'm not sure about PlayStation Plus. It wouldn't surprise me. Yeah,
Well, that's what I
it
was
could be. Yeah, it could. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
when I said their services earlier about 5 minutes ago. That's what I was referring to. PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
Plus. That's dude. That's it's happening.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. I don't know if I could see PlayStation Plus on PC, but I mean, 2 years ago I would have said that PlayStation games would have never come to PC, and now look
Right.
at where we are. So I do
Right.
think that time gap that you kind of spoke about, I think that's going to slowly get shorter and shorter as time goes, as we move on. So I don't think
Yeah.
necessarily we're going to have to wait until Horizon 3 is about to come out for Horizon 2 to come out. I think you're going to start seeing those time gaps get shorter and shorter and shorter because it just makes too much. It's just making too much money for them not to want to release these ASAP. But it's a very good point. I think that I don't think it'll ever get side by side releases. I think Sony has no toleration on that one. There's no way they're going to do that. I completely agree with that. I think there's definitely going to be probably a year gap between those releases that Sony's going to want to make sure happens, because otherwise, why would you buy a PlayStation 5, right? So I think that about a year is probably where we're going to be in, from time gap, or from a time gap standpoint, and 3-4 years from now. We're going to see these games launching a lot closer than they are now.
Yeah, and Jim Ryan, I don't really love him and what he's done for PlayStation and overall, but you got to give him some credit here. He's pivoting and he's taking what Xbox has done in stride, and he, instead of just continuing on, they're making changes to try and compete with them. And they know that there's certain spaces that maybe Microsoft will always dominate, but they want to give it a shot, and you gotta respect Sony for that, and credit to Jim Ryan a little bit here. I think he gets a bad rap, and deservedly so, but I think he's doing a nice job here. And one quick note that I had, um, just to reiterate, PlayStation Plus is already on PC because you can stream. You know what I mean? Those
Yeah.
streaming games are already there, and just I wanted to clarify before someone wrote in and said, it's already on there." So just save it,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. We know someone
But
out there will bring it up.
last thing I'll say is PlayStation Plus, if it does come to PC, when it comes to PC, it's going to be a specific PC version that will be included in your subscription, but it's going to be, a selection of games. You're not going to get certain games on there. You just won't. You just won't. You're not going to get, I don't know, Horizon Forbidden West. If that becomes a PlayStation Plus game, you're not going to get it. So, on PC. But I'm good to move on if you are. That's enough time on that topic.
Sure.
Okay, so the next topic we have is, PS Blue. We pound the pavement. We are involved in the community, and we like to comment and really get in on the conversation. And so I posted a comment on a video comparing The Last of Us Part 1 trailer with The Last of Us original remastered. And here's the comment I left. I said, I think this game is not the best use of Naughty Dog's time. However, my co-host Vinny had an interesting take on this remake slash remaster. And I have to admit, he sort of changed my mind. I go on to sort of reiterate what Vinny had said about Naughty Dog doubling their staff and using this game to train newer employees. And I also mentioned that I believe they're simultaneously working on something brand new. So I was met with this response, and I pretty much paraphrased what Vinny said in my comment. So I wanted to give him the floor and give him an opportunity to respond to this. MullDK19 is the name of the user. And he let me know that what we had said was not true. The real reason this remake, quote, the real reason this remake exists is because a bunch of veteran developers who've been called on to help other developers finish games, including Naughty Dog, wanted to become independent and create their own studio. But being a new studio, pitching a new game idea to Sony would be hard. So they decided to remake a game instead, which is a much safer bet. He goes on to say, so they were given the go-ahead, and then at some point, Sony said, expletive you, and handed the game to Naughty Dog, led by, and remember this is a quote, narcissist Neil Druckmann, taking credit for it as, quote within a quote here, I don't know the proper decorum for this, we wanted to give people the definitive version of the first game. And then that's the end of Neil Druckmann's quote. MullDK19 says, no, you didn't. You didn't even decide to remake it. You were just randomly handed a remake someone else decided to make. I then went on to reply, this is me. So originally it wasn't theirs, right? Naughty Dog was outsourcing the remake to another studio, and then they decided to take over. They're such a talented team. I agree with you that a remake was a safer bet. Sony just has so much stake in the Last of Us franchise, especially with the HBO series coming. I hope Vinny is right, and they're working on new things as well. To which he replied, quote, Naughty Dog didn't outsource anything. The Last of Us is owned by Sony. The remake wasn't Naughty Dog's. It was created by a different company. I believe that's true. The remake was created by members of Sony's Visual Arts Services Group, a company that helped other studios finish off games with animations, graphics, and other developments. He goes on to say at some point, VASG was called in to help finish The Last of Us Part 2, after which Sony took the remake away from VASG and gave it to Naughty Dog. The remake was VASG's idea and creation and their shot at becoming an independent studio, but it was stolen by Naughty Dog, and VASG was disbanded, end quote. Then I asked him for permission to quote him, and he never got back to me. That is MullDK19. So MullDK19, if you're out there, you are more than welcome to come on our podcast and tell us about this insider information you have, because I did not know any of this. Vinny, the floor is yours.
You put it right, Anthony. We have an insider in our comments section. We have somebody with some internal sources, because I'll tell you what, man, I read this comment, did a little research. There is nothing. Let me actually just say this first. What he's saying with regards to internally, what was it? Visual Arts Service Group was originally making the game, trying to become independent, and Naughty Dog kind of ripped the blanket from underneath them and, took over development right at the end. If something like that happened, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. I'm sure that things like that happen all the time internally at Sony. Maybe not all the time, but it's not necessarily unusual or unheard of. I think this probably happens, more than we would like. But there's nothing through research that I could find, I don't know about you if you did any research, that would insinuate something like this happened. Did you find anything to support this sort of theory that he has?
So the comment that I left is on Gaming Bolt's Last of Us remake versus original graphics comparison. How big of a leap is it? That's where you can find my research. I just left a comment and he responded and I responded back. This is all you, man. I didn't do any, I apologize, but I didn't do any research. So I'm going to respectfully defer to you.
Well, like I said, and he could be right. He could be right. There's just no evidence that I could find that would support what he's saying, which makes me think, do we have an insider on our hands? Do we have somebody that worked for visual arts service groups here, or whatever this studio is called, excuse me, Sony's visual arts services group? Maybe this is somebody internally. It's possible, but there's no evidence to support something like this happened. Also, I will say this: when you're trying to prove a point to someone, don't say narcissistic Neil Druckmann. Don't say Sony said F you. It just makes it seem like there's an agenda. I'm not saying there is one. And Neil Druckmann, it just kind of gives that vibe of, narcissistic Neil Druckmann said, "Oh no, I'm taking this over now." Right? He was just handed it to him, which, like I said, this may very well be true, but I'm curious. He's writing this out as if it's facts. Like this is something that everyone knows, but I haven't heard a thing about it. So I'm standing, and then I'll also say this: two things can be true at one time, dude.
Right.
You can, what I said, you said that what I said was not true at all. I can guarantee you that internally, there's no doubt in my mind that Naughty Dog is training staff with this game, training new staff in particular, and in particular focusing on this game with their new staff, because they're not going to risk their newer IPs or anything like that with newer staff. So they're definitely training people with this game. I've no doubt in my mind on that. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Let me interject really quickly. I will say this. This was an outlier. And, we're not always going to respond to people that are quote unquote trolls, but I don't think he's a troll. I don't think he's being a troll or anything. Because if he was, I wouldn't have brought this up on the podcast. I just wanted to bring it up because it was a good talking point, I thought. But I will say this: the reception to your theory has been very positive. It's the most popular video on our channel, so good job there, Vinny. And I clipped it off. We talked about it, and people really liked it, and people agreed with you. So continue on, but I just wanted to let you know that the reception has been mostly positive and mostly agreeable. People agree with you and I agree with you. I think it's a pretty sound theory. So go on.
No, and I could be totally wrong with my theory. I'm not trying to say that I'm right. I'm not trying to. There's a likelihood that I'm not right, and there's also a chance that Mule DK is not right. Even though he wants to say not true and something like this, which I don't think he's being a troll at all. I think I'm in agreement with you. He's very respectful in these comments. It's just, I need the evidence that would support something like this happening. I don't have anything to justify what you're telling me, and it very well could be true. I don't want to make it seem like I think this is completely wrong. It very well could be. I stand by what I said. I think it's more of an internal thing at Naughty Dog, and it just made too much sense for them internally. But yeah, I don't think he's being a troll at all.
And also I will say this: DK most likely stands for Donkey Kong. So again, MullDK19, if you're out there, we are willing to have you on our podcast. Talk some Donkey Kong. This is a PlayStation podcast, but I'm always down to throw down a Donkey Kong conversation or two.
Well, let me ask you, Anthony. The fact that he's calling Neil Druckmann a narcissist in his analysis, do you think that brings into question maybe some of what he's saying here? It just makes me feel like there might be some kind of an agenda here. I know people don't like Neil. I get that. I know he can maybe rub people the wrong way, especially with The Last of Us Part 2 and how ill-received that was, and he's very defensive about that game, which he should be. He made it. It's his baby. But, narcissist Neil Druckmann kind of makes me think, and
how do you know that he actually said F you? You don't know that. That's paraphrasing, obviously. He's not saying Neil Druckmann literally said F you. Maybe he is, but I think he means more like, so this situation, I will say, I'll chime in a little bit here and give my opinion a little. I really think it was just a situation of Naughty Dog seeing what another studio was doing, because I'm pretty sure he's right there. I'm pretty sure it was a different studio, but I don't know. I don't work for Naughty Dog or Sony, so I don't know if what came first, the chicken or the egg. I don't know if Naughty Dog like said, okay, let's have an outside studio do it, or if Sony said, let's have an outside studio do it. We don't know. We don't. If you know, let us know. We don't know that. So, but at the end of the day, they didn't like what was happening with it, you know. So they decided to do it internally, and it seems like it was a good move. Again, I'm not too high on Last of Us Part 1 to begin with, but it seems like it was a good move. It seems like it's looking really, really good. It looks like it's going to be something that sells really well. It's getting a lot of coverage in the media, and with the game, I mean, the show coming out, the game is going to have this influx of people headed its way. Um, and these people are going to want to know the story from the beginning, and they're not going to want to play it on a PS3 or a piece of hardware from 2014 and the PS4. So, you know, it's from a branding perspective, this makes sense. And I'll leave it at that. I'm yeah, I'm done talking about this topic. Enough is
Yeah.
enough with The Last of Us Part 1 remake. I will say people did like it on our YouTube channel. So, good job there, Vinny.
Yeah, thanks. I'm in agreement. I think that, you know, we can only go so far with this topic without any evidence. So I don't know what else to do here. That's it. You know, I respect his opinion, and he may be right. We both could be right, but I say we move on and let's get rolling here.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to give you a chance to respond to that because I had my hands full. I didn't know what to say, but I tried. Like I said, you could see our comments on that YouTube video. But the next topic that we are going to talk about, this is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but we just got an excuse to sort of breathe new life into it, and that is Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. They released Square did a new trailer for Trials of the Dragon King. Now, this is the first DLC that is a full expansion for the game, and it will be available July 20th. That is right around the corner. So if you are a Stranger of Paradise fan, you probably already know this. But if you don't, Trials of the Dragon King, July 20th. Go and get some more Stranger of Paradise action. What do you think of this, Vinny? Have you played this game at all? Have you dipped your toe into Stranger of Paradise? There was a demo that came out. I checked that out. I kind of liked it. What do you think, though? I want to hear your opinion.
No, I haven't played this at all. I really haven't seen much about this game, to be perfectly honest with you. I do see that there's a demo out on PlayStation 5 now that you guys could check out, and from this gameplay trailer, I think it looks pretty sweet. I'll be honest with you. I think it looks really cool. It looks like a good Final Fantasy game. It looks like something that I know I had no idea was even coming out, to be perfectly honest with you. It's also on all other consoles. Yeah.
It's out already. Yeah. This is the expansion for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to. Yeah, the expansion pack.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I may not have been, specific here. But even the original game, Final Fantasy Origin, right? I never even heard about that game. When did that game come out? I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy guy. I think you're the Final Fantasy guy more so on the podcast. So when did this game come out? Is it any good? Have you played it? What's the deal here?
Wow, I'm really shocked that you didn't know about this game, because this is... Listen to the description and tell me you're not hooked on this game. Ready? It is a Final Fantasy game made by Team Ninja, who made the Neo games. But it has RPG elements in it, and boss battles, and leveling up, and it's literally Neo meets Final Fantasy. Tell me that's not... meets Sekiro, I would say, is probably the best way to describe it. Tell me that's not something you're interested in.
That's music to my ears. That sounds fucking awesome. Sounds really cool.
I mean, yeah, dude, it came out, I want to say it has to be close to February or March, I think it came out. So it's been out for a few months, but it is, what put me off to the game is I played the demo and I really enjoyed it, right? But it just ran like garbage. I'm not talking about, there's like a performance mode and the frame rate is good, but the graphical fidelity goes down it's like 1080p. And God, again, we sound like such spoiled little babies, but
Preach.
a brand new game, 1080p, it should at least upscale to 4K a little bit. Use those 1080p textures, but give me some 4K. It's a noticeable difference, And I just played a game from 2014 and Wolfenstein: The New Order and didn't complain about that, but this game just came out and I'm spending upwards of $60 on it. I expect some graphical leap, but yeah, man, I saw this video and it got me thinking about this game again, and it was recently on sale. So it might be something I pick up if it is on sale now or the next time it goes on sale. It's like I said, if you like Neo, if you like Neo 2, if you liked Final Fantasy 7 Remake, if you liked Sekiro, all of those games had a baby and sort of did something a little more on the campy side. That's Stranger of Paradise. And, it got it didn't get bad reviews. It got, typical 8s, 7s, and 8s, I would say. But the hardcore following of this game, the people that like it, really like it. So, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't know about this game.
Had never even heard about it prior to this discussion here. Had never really even, it's just, not an inkling of an idea that this game even existed. And I'm watching more and more videos on it, though. I think it looks like it runs okay. It doesn't look like it's running like complete trash. I'm watching on a PlayStation 5 video right here, but I suppose I've only watched like 4 or 5 minutes of gameplay here right now, but I think it looks really cool.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like something that I might want to keep my eye out for a sale. I think I did look up some of the reviews as we were kind of discussing this, and it does look like it was a little mixed. Looks like it was some, it's right in that 7-8 range, but the user score is pretty high. So that tells me that, like exactly like you said, which it sounds like people that really like this game or, like this game, that they love this game. So, and Team Ninja is really, really good. I love the Neo games. I think they're freaking awesome. This looks really cool. I'm going to keep my eye out for this one. I'm hoping that like a package comes out and maybe that goes on sale and I'll check it out. But other than that, I'll probably hold off.
I'm highly interested in it. Again, this got me thinking about buying it very soon. It's good. It's the demo was really good. I think what might have happened, like I said, the performance was pretty solid. It was more about graphical fidelity. What might have happened with me is I was playing a lot of very beautiful games at the time, and then I switched over to that. And like we talk about all the time on this podcast, timing is everything, and it might have just been a timing issue for me. But I think I was expecting Final Fantasy 7 Remake level graphical fidelity, and it wasn't that caliber, and that kind of disappointed me. But I'm totally gonna check this out. I would say $30 is the most I would pay for this game, but we got to draw the line somewhere, and that's for me $30 for this one.
Yeah, but I think this has $30 written all over it.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad that you got to get introduced to this game, because I did not know that you didn't know about it, or I would have definitely recommended it to you. I think you probably would have picked it up if you knew a little bit more about it. Yeah, Team Ninja, to echo what you said, they're great. I love Team Ninja. But yeah, moving on. The next topic we got is God of War Ragnarok. So with God of War Ragnarok, there was some news that was supposed to come out, some sort of an announcement, and Cory Barlog, the director of the game, tweeted, quote, "Dear all, if it were up to me, I would share all the information when I know about it, but it is not up to me. So please be patient. I promise things will be shared at the earliest possible moment they can be. We make games for you. We get to make games because of you. Heart emoji," end quote. So, Vinny, can you give us some more context on exactly what the drama is surrounding this game and sort of the news timeline, the release of news for this game, because I don't think it got officially delayed or anything like that. But you seem to know a bit more on this than I do, so I'm gonna toss it to you. Talk to me about this.
Yeah, it's an interesting subject. It's actually a crazy story going on actively right now. And God of War Ragnarok, I think we had spoken briefly about it, but there were rumors about it getting delayed, and those never kind of came into fruition. And then these rumors came out. This was earlier this month, or actually last month, excuse me, early in June, from credible leakers, purportedly, right? People that kind of leak things out all the time, that there was going to be a God of War state of play, and we were going to hear more about the game, and we were going to get a release date, et cetera, right? And like you said, those plans were purportedly delayed, and Cory Barlog has to go out there and defend this decision. And it's kind of crazy that they have to go out and defend something that they never even announced. Nothing came out of Sony directly about a state of play. Like it wasn't like, the God of War team said, "Hey, we're going to show you guys something later this month." No, nothing like that. All this started from rumors, which is insane. And now we're hearing that a lot of the developers internally are getting hate mail, death threats, everything, all this terrible stuff, which is just honestly embarrassing. It's honestly embarrassing as like a gamer to see stuff like this going on.
Yeah.
And it's stemming from something that they never announced. It's not even like they came out and said, "Oh, we're going to, like I said, oh, we're going to show you guys something later this month." It never came out officially. And it's just crazy, man. It's just a crazy sort of situation that they have to go out and defend themselves over this. And like he says, like, if it were up to him and the developers internally, they would show you probably everything if they could. But that's not the way that this works. They have to wait until, Sony gives the A-OK, that the marketing kind of approves what they're showing. And it's a whole process that they have to go through in order to, they got to make sure everything obviously looks good and everything is going to look the way that it's going to ship. That's also a very important part. You don't ever want to show something that's not going to, be released within the full context of the game. And it just wasn't ready.
Right.
If this was true, and that's if this is true, this could be totally fake or fabricated. It's just a bizarre situation. It's unfortunate that, the developers have to go out here and defend themselves. I think that's just a little ridiculous. It seems like the game's still on track. I know that Jason Schreier of Bloomberg confirmed very recently that this game's still on track for purportedly a November release date, which I cannot wait. And to be honest with you, I don't even want to see any of this game. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to see a damn thing. So it's like, I don't like watching these state of plays a lot of times for, like when they focus in on one game, particularly a single player game. I don't want anything spoiled. I don't want to know anything more about this game until I have it in my hands. So It's just a crazy situation, man. I can't believe something like this is happening.
Yeah. Let's hope, and I personally feel this way, that this is true, that it's more of the vocal minority, an outspoken few, than it is the general public on this game. Sometimes words can be very, very powerful in that sense. And when you say death threats and stuff, like, I think you mentioned lewd photos and just weird, really weird shit. Why? Like,
it's embarrassing.
I'm sorry. I hate to be super negative about it, but dude, get a life. What are you doing? Why are you sending lewd photos to Cory Barlog?
Yeah, I think it was
because
one of the
your
developers.
God of War game isn't out yet. And I could go off on a whole tangent why social media is so negative. So I'll save it and I won't. And YouTube and now all these podcast services that we're on are really the only form of social media I partake in. But this just sounds, it sounds like a non-story that these outlets are trying to turn it into a story so they have something to talk to regarding God of War. So hopefully, the big gaming journalist websites aren't nudging this along, and I don't think that they would, but I do think that this is something to talk about in a realm where there's no God of War to talk about right now. So that might have something to do with it, because the second they drop a gameplay trailer, that's all anyone's going to talk about. Nobody's going to be talking about the lewd photos and death threats. And I think Cory Barlog is going to be pleasantly surprised that the gameplay will speak for itself. And the fact that he's even responding to this, in my opinion, is above and beyond, because he doesn't have to acknowledge it. So, that's, to me, that's a good sign. To me, when you're defensive of your product, it means you believe in your product. And when you believe in your product, it means that it's most likely a passion project, and it'll be good for the game. So I'm excited for this one. I don't want to see anything else on this game either. So what else you got on this topic?
Nothing much to add to what you talked about there. It's just embarrassing, very frustrating that something like this would happen, and that the community. But I think you're right. I think it's the vocal minority rather than people like us that are just kind of chilling and waiting for this game to come out. I can't wait. I can't wait to actually play this game. Obviously, we're going to watch the state of play for the purposes of the podcast, or if they have a state of play, excuse me, if they decide to do one, which I hope they don't. I hope they just announce a release date and it comes out and I don't see any more about it. So can't wait for this game. We're both ecstatic. Probably my most anticipated game of the year outside of the Callisto Protocol. It's right there with it. So I can't wait to get this in my hands and play it, man. It looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I'm actually, believe it or not, maybe it's because I hadn't heard about this game in so long, but I'm even more excited for our next topic. And that's Skate, man. This game has been off the radar for so long. They announced that they were making a new Skate game, but it's been on the back burner for a long, long time. And then on June 30th, they released this trailer, and it sort of blew up, at least in the gaming world. And it's the most honest trailer I've ever seen in my entire life. It's a bunch of clips from, I don't know if it's Blender or the engine that they're using or whatever proprietary program they have, but you're seeing, and please don't bash me for mispronouncing all the programs, because I am not a game developer, so I don't know. But you're seeing pre alpha gameplay, which is what they say in this trailer, and they're showing a lot of animation work and very early, what's the word? Very, very early development sort of clips and snippets. So you get that, and then they splice it in with some what is conceivably like beta gameplay, and it looks so good. But then they go on to say, we're working on it. We hear you. We will be done when we're done. Sort of a vibe is what I got from it, and it was really refreshing to not get this because they could have very easily just showed this gameplay, the gameplay that they intersperse throughout the sort of developmental footage. They could have easily done a 30-second trailer, just that gameplay only, and said Skate 4 is coming, or whatever they're going to call it. It's coming, and it's going to be here, and it's going to be great. They didn't do that. They said, give us time. It'll be ready when it's ready. So, and in their description of the video, they said right here, we told you we're back, and we're still working on it, but it's time for you to see what we've been up to. It's still early, but we want to get this right, and that means we want you to be a part of it. So in this trailer, they also announced a play test, I would say. Sort of, you could put yourself on a list for the play test, and I immediately did it. And I doubt that I will get on, but you never know. And you bet your bottom dollar I'll be talking about it on here if I do. I don't know what I am liable to say if I get into that playtest, but I signed up for it, man. And I this game was, well, first of all, the Tony Hawk games were such a big part of my childhood. Um, they're some of my most cherished games ever. Specifically, Tony Hawk Pro Skater One. So many childhood memories in Tony Hawk Pro Skater One. I played it on N64. It had a blue cartridge. It's like engraved in my brain. So when Skate and Skate 2 and Skate 3 came out, I ate those games up. And then it sort of went away for a while. They had a game called Skater XL come out, and Ollie Ollie World is a pretty cool one. I don't know if you've checked that out, but that came out recently. But nothing comes close to Skate since the Tony Hawk Pro Skater remaster to me. Vinny, what are your thoughts on this? Are you as excited as I am, or are you just taking a wait and see approach?
I'm very excited for this. I loved Skate, the original game. I didn't play necessarily any of the sequels, but I do have a special place, and there is a special place in my heart for the original Skate. I think me and you, we played that. I mean,
A lot.
probably 100+ hours in that game, and it was fantastic. A ton of fun, and I know there's such a passionate fan base for this series. And say what you want. I mean, we talk about all the negatives with EA. We're very, we've discussed the sports games and things like that and everything that they do wrong. But let's give credit where credit's due, because this is EA published game. And you said it best, man. You don't see this level of transparency with regards to marketing and directly to kind of the consumers like this. You just don't, not in the game, in the game industry. I've never seen a trailer quite like this, and I'm so happy that they're releasing things like this. And another thing that I was thinking is they're also doing this with the Dead Space remake. They have these sort of developer videos that they've been posting on a pretty consistent basis to be as transparent and open about what's going to come out, when that game's released. And you see a lot of kind of like pre-alpha gameplay of that game. And it's awesome. I'm very happy that they're doing this. I think this should be celebrated. I'm hopeful that becomes kind of I would hope that it becomes a norm for certain franchises, big games that have been in development for an excruciatingly long time. Like if we got something like this for Kingdom Hearts 4, or Kingdom Hearts 3, excuse me, when we were waiting over that long stretch, it would have been nice, to get some sort of an update instead of nothing. This game's clearly years away. We're in complete agreement there. I think that goes without being said. It's not even close to being out. I'd be shocked if it came out within 2 years. I think 2 years at the earliest. 2024, late 2024 is probably when we're going to see this. And I love it, man. I love that they released a trailer like this, particularly with this franchise that, people just cannot wait for the next Skate game. Now, I'm not to that level. I'm not like, oh my God, like you are clearly, based on what you said, very excited to get back into this franchise, which, and that's awesome. And I'm happy you're like that. I think I'm more, I don't want to say hesitant, but I'm a little bit more like, I'll just wait and see. And these videos are getting me excited. That's for sure. I'm not going to allow myself to get my hopes up over the net, because this just seems like it's so far away that I don't want to have this level of hype for 2 years only to just be, so hyped to the point where anything that they release, I'm going to be disappointed with. So I'm going to kind of take a wait and see approach. Like you said, I'm going to be wait and see here, but I'm happy that they're being very, open with the development of this game. I think they should keep doing it, and hopefully they do that, because I think this is a very well received video. I don't think there's like a lot of negative comments from what I'm seeing here. Everybody seems pretty positive about what they saw, and it looks like Skate. It looks like more Skate. It looks like they're going to kind of do, and it looks like a lot of multiplayer stuff here, which is Skate. It's a multiplayer game. It's an online multiplayer game, and it looks like one of the videos they were like running around on like a jungle gym almost, like off the skateboard. So I think that's interesting.
I saw that.
Yeah, like he was doing like the whatever it's called, but it looks cool. It looks like they're making it fun. So that's all I care about.
Yeah, and that's why the first, I want to say 5 or 6 Tony Hawk games were so good is because they had fun with it. You know what I mean? And that was Skate and Skate 2 and Skate 3 for me. Specifically, I think Skate 2 was the best one. I think that was the one that we played the most. It might have been the first one. I know we played both of them together, but I think we played Skate 2 together too. I really do.
We may have. It was so long
I
ago
don't
at
know.
this point. It's possible. I
Right.
know you. Yeah. Whatever we played, it was awesome. So much fun.
Vinny, this goes to show you something though. And this is something that I say a lot, and it's something I'm going to say again. We are approaching sort of a blended media system here where you start to see video games nearing that level of movies and TV shows and other mediums that we normally associate with entertainment. Video games are coming up, man. They really are. And you talked about the behind the scenes Callisto Protocol, or I'm sorry, Dead Space. Let's not get those two games mixed up. The behind the scenes Dead Space sort of segments that they're doing. This is what they used to do to build hype for movies. So when we see behind the scenes coming to video games, it's just part of that evolution of video games becoming that next medium. It's not just hardcore gamers playing video games anymore. It's the entire world. And advancements like this, behind the scenes videos where hundreds of thousands of people are getting excited for it, just prove that even further. So I think that's really cool, and I like to see the parallels to the film industry happening in the game industry. I think that's really cool. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about Skate. It's exciting, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. You're dead on. I'm in that group of people that's extremely excited for it. We're speaking of peeling back the layers behind the scenes. We're doing a lot of that this episode. There seems to be a pretty constant theme of behind the scenes development. We have an article that you sent me from IGN.com where they make it very clear that Sucker Punch has, quote, no plans to revisit Infamous or Sly Cooper series right now. This is in a statement published on their website, and this summary is courtesy of IGN. Sucker Punch thanked fans for their support and laid out some of its plans for the future. According to the statement, the team is working on a new project that requires the full studio's attention. This is interesting because we talked about Sucker Punch doing a superhero game. So there are currently no Sly Cooper or Infamous projects in the works at Sucker Punch or at any other studios. So these IPs are on hold. Transparency, it's a theme in the episode. It's a theme in gaming right now. They just want to let people know, yo, pump the brakes on Sly Cooper, pump the brakes on Infamous. You're not getting it anytime soon. That's really considerate, and I like that from a studio. But I'm gonna let you talk more on it, Vinny, because this is something you brought to me. So what do you have to say about all this?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think it very wisely went out there and said, hey, nobody's working on these games, because there's always going to be rumors that surface. There's always going to be people thinking on the, in deep down that they're hoping that these games are going to get announced and released real quick. And Sucker Punch probably saw the heart. And obviously, particularly with these two huge IPs, Infamous is huge. Sly Cooper is enormous. That's an enormous IP. So, they very wisely went out and got ahead of these kinds of stories. This story of, let's not let these rumors kind of fester over the next few years. We don't want people kind of, spreading false information. So let's just be very transparent with our community and say, hey, there's no plans at all. And they even went a step further and said there's not even an external studio working on these IPs, specifically these two IPs that they're known for. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't upset. I'm a little upset. I was hoping that we were going to get another game from Sucker Punch. I was hoping that maybe they were willing to work two games at one time, similar to the way that, Insomniac's doing, and now we're seeing, Naughty Dog do as well. I'm a little upset, but let's just be honest here. the game they're working on right now is Ghost of Tsushima sequel. So that's obvious. Otherwise, Ghost of Tsushima would have been mentioned
Oh,
in this comment.
duh. How
There,
did I miss
yeah, that
that?
was,
How did
yeah, I know, right?
I'm so stupid.
No, yeah, you're fine. Yeah, an unannounced action stealth game, which is what they're hiring for. Let's just call it what it is. It's Ghost of Tsushima 2, which I'm ecstatic about. Let me just put it this way: if I had the choice between an Infamous sequel, Sly Cooper sequel, and a Ghost of Tsushima sequel, I want Sucker Punch to work on the Ghost of Tsushima sequel. However, go ahead. Yeah, you look
Let
like
me
you have to say
interject really
something. Yeah,
quickly.
go
I
ahead.
was going to say we talk about transparency, and that's something we were just talking about. I would bet you money they can't announce Ghost of Tsushima 2 because of Sony, not because of internal, you know, whatever. I don't think it's an internal
Yeah.
decision. You know what I mean?
Oh
I think that's
yeah.
something Sony has down their pipeline. So, because obviously they're being very transparent about other stuff. So I don't put that against Sucker Punch. But go on.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm not even saying it as a slight that they haven't announced Ghost of Tsushima 2. I just think it's, we'd be kidding ourselves if we acted like we didn't know what they were working on. And we'll get that announcement, like you said, when Sony determines is the right time. Whenever Sony needs a big announcement at a state of play, probably, some sort of gameplay demo, things like that, which we've seen time and time, through the past. But to the point, I would want. I'm happy that they're working on a Ghost of Tsushima sequel. I think what I personally wanted was Sly Cooper. I really wanted Sly Cooper to come back. I played the original Sly Cooper and loved it. I never played the sequels. I'm hoping to go back. The only way to play those games is through the godforsaken streaming platform that Sony offers. It's and it actually runs really well on the streaming platform.
I was
Let me
gonna
just
say
say
that.
that. Yeah, it
I was actually
runs
gonna say that. Yeah, it does.
shockingly well. I'm assuming it's because those games aren't very big. Go ahead.
I beat. I want to say the entire first game, all on PlayStation Now, because there's no other
Wow,
way for
yeah.
me to play it. But I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it, and I wanted to go to their backlog, and this was several years ago, and their technology was not nearly as good as it is now. Um, my internet was also way better back then. It's kind of trash now, but I mean, if you have good internet, and like you said, it's I think that has a lot to do with it. They're not loading in as many textures. It's not that it's not the gameplay is not simplified, but like the data that they're sort of transmitting to you isn't as substantial. So I think that's why those older games. I'm not going to try and play Resistance 3 on PlayStation Now anytime soon. Unfortunately, I really want to play that game. But go on. Sorry, I interrupted you again. Go ahead.
You're fine. No, it's a good point because those are shockingly well-run games on the PlayStation Now service. So it's a good point to make because for those of you that haven't played those games, go check it out because they're really, really well made, well done, kind of a love letter to that sort of 3D platformer, action games of the, 90s, early 2000s, things like that. But anyways, I think in deep down, I was hoping that an external studio would be working on these franchises. I think another Infamous game would be awesome too. I do want to play another Infamous game. I love Second Son. I think that's an undervalued sort of PlayStation that was launched alongside the PlayStation 4, or at least very near the early, PlayStation 4 life cycle. And that was a great game. The original Infamous was amazing as well. I never played Infamous 2, but apparently that's really good as well. And I don't know. I'm a little surprised that they're not working on multiple projects at once at Sucker Punch. I felt like that was probably a studio, given like we've discussed Insomniac's success. It's a little shocking that Sony's not pushing for them to kind of split their teams up or hire new people and get multiple projects going at one time. But I'll tell you what, man. I am so excited for the Tsushima sequel. I cannot wait. It sounds like it's all hands on deck at Sucker Punch, and they're going all in on it. So, I'm excited. I'm so excited for that because that game is, my goodness, it might be a 10. It's very close to a 10.
Yeah, and I still haven't played it. Unfortunately, I have this disgusting taste in my mouth of I finally caved and upgraded to the PS5 version of the game 2 weeks later, it comes out for PlayStation Plus extra tier.
Gosh, such a slap in the
I'm
face.
just donating money to Sony. Sony, just take whatever you want. Just here's my bank account number. Just take what you need, okay? Um, Now, to my credit, it hadn't been announced yet that game was coming, because if it was, there was another game on there that I did know was coming. It was a sequel to something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I held out until the new PlayStation Plus came out. I would have done the same with Ghost of Tsushima had I known that, but I bought it, and then like a week later they announced that it was going to be part of that catalog, and I was so pissed. We talk about that $10 that we donated to Horizon. That was a $25 donation. So Sony, I really hope I can write this off on my taxes. All these donations to Sony that I've been doing.
Unbelievable. Let's not forget, and we gotta go on a slight tangent here for just a minute.
Puzzle
The
Quest.
two morons that we are. You knew
Oh.
I was gonna bring this up for buying the PlayStation 5 version of Horizon Forbidden West. I will never forgive Sony for not refunding me my $10. How the hell do you charge $70 for the exact same thing that came in the $60 version? Don't even get me started. I had to bring it up though.
Yeah, it's upsetting for sure. But I think that it's an ultimately it ultimately is a good decision that they're only focusing on one game. I don't think they have as many employees as Insomniac. I could be wrong. This is off the top of my head. I didn't look any stats up, but I think they're a smaller studio. And I think that it's a big deal that they feel this passionately about Untitled action stealth game. Ghost of Tsushima 2. Imagine if it's like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh my gosh.
Like a AAA Five Nights at Freddy's reboot.
Could you imagine if it's not Ghost of Tsushima 2?
No, it is.
No
It is. It
chance.
100% is. I don't know who Sony thinks they're kidding. Just let them announce it already. But yeah, I disagree with you in that regard. I think it's smart for them to really knock this one out of the park, and I think that Sony is holding them to a very high standard, and that's great. It really is, because Sucker Punch is their next breakout studio. They are the next Insomniac. They are the next Naughty Dog. We have, and they're not there yet. They really aren't, because Ghost of Tsushima is the only game on that level. You can argue Infamous was, but it wasn't. Infamous was this like little brother. You know what I mean? It was a little sibling to the Uncharted's and the Ratchet and Clanks. It wasn't on that level. It just wasn't. Ghost of Tsushima was, and it's a shame I haven't played it. I need to clear off these weird games off my catalog that I'm bouncing around on so I can really sit down and play this game, because the couple of hours I've spent with it, I've spent maybe 5 hours with it, are mind-blowingly good. Like mind-blowingly good. And I think that's the other reason I haven't played it, because I love it so much, what I've played, that I don't want to like sleep my way through it. You know what I mean? I really want to actively engage with this game and pay attention to what's going on, because I don't want to miss a second. And unfortunately, I do that a lot with content that I really, really enjoy. It takes me a while to get around to, but same thing with Horizon Forbidden West. I won't go down that rabbit hole again, but at the end of the day, go ahead.
I kind of off topic, but one thing that this kind of made me think of is we have to give a huge thank you to Naughty Dog for raising the bar for these studios internally at Sony. So,
Right.
Sony Santa Monica with God of War. These games are not happening without the Uncharted games. I'm sorry. They just aren't. And look at the studios that Sony has now. I know this is off topic, but
No, it's
Santa
not.
Monica with God of War, Guerrilla was making Killzone. Horizon, and I know we have our complaints about Horizon. Neither of us are debating the level of quality that game is. It's an outstandingly made game. It's
No, we have a
like
complaint about Sony, not about Horizon. Sony took that $10 from
exactly.
us, not
Yeah.
Guerrilla Game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go on.
Exactly. But you know what I mean though? We have no, we have to just thank Naughty Dog for this because these
I
games
agree.
don't exist without it, or they're not this level of quality. Insomniac with Spider-Man, everybody kind of is pushing that bar and kind of really outdoing one another. And it's amazing. It really is amazing when you kind of step back and look at the studios that Sony has and the games that they're releasing. It's insane. It's bar none. Xbox wants one of those studios. You know,
Right.
they don't have one of them. And
I
it's
mean,
just insane. Just something I was thinking about.
you don't have Crash 4, one of the great platformers of this generation, without Naughty Dog, because they made the first 3 games. A lot of people forget that, I feel like, if you're not like a, Crash fan. But before Jack and Daxter, they were making Crash Bandicoot. That was their first, Crash 1 is in Uncharted 4. One of the coolest moments in video gaming. You're sitting there playing the PS1 as Nathan Drake playing Crash Bandicoot. That's cool, man. That's really cool. Um, this is for sure off topic, but Crash 4 is the free PlayStation Plus game of the month. Do you think Crash 5, do you think that bodes well for Crash 5 being on PlayStation consoles? Because again, Activision, you talk about Microsoft owning things. They own Activision. They own that intellectual property. Are we going to get Crash 5? Because if we don't, I might lose it, and Kelly might lose it. My girlfriend, she would not be happy with that. We're playing
I'm
through the whole catalog of Crash games right now, and she's like, we need Crash 5, and I do not want to buy an Xbox.
Yeah, I'm still a little worried that it's going to be an Xbox exclusive, even with this sort of deal. The reason being is that Microsoft doesn't officially own Activision yet. That deal has not gone through. That has another year, I think, to kind of, cross some T's, dot some I's, to put things, in simpler terms. But, because we don't know the complexities of it, we know these deals take a long time to go through.
Right.
So Activision's working independently right now. They just are. Obviously, they're more catered towards Microsoft because they know that that's going to be their owner in the near future. So they're not kind of, they're not just ignoring that fact. But this probably just made sense internally at Activision. They're clearly making another one. I'm still worried it's going to be on Xbox only, though. I really am.
I just, like I said, this is off topic, but I meant to ask you about this earlier in the episode. PlayStation Plus, why would they push Crash 4 if Crash 5 was going to have, I guess maybe they just don't know. Or maybe it's just like a big game that they were able to put on there. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but
Yeah, I was going to say they probably haven't had those conversations with Microsoft yet.
yeah, you're probably right.
Those are coming down the line. Microsoft may say, "Hey, just release it on both," since they're clearly working on Crash 5. Not to go too long on the topic, but
I
I
really
think that's
hope
going to
so.
come out. I think that's
I really
coming
hope
out.
so.
I think that Crash 4 is very successful based on what we've kind of seen, and they're probably working on a PlayStation 5 and put in Xbox versions. And my assumption is Microsoft will just say, I don't know. I'm flip flopping on it. I hope it comes to PlayStation though. I'm right there with
Yeah,
you.
I didn't mean to take us off on a whole tangent. We got some Sifu to talk about, so
Mm.
let's reel it back in and direct this conversation toward Vinny's For Your Consideration. Now, this is a game that I gave him several weeks ago. He had a very busy few weeks, and this is a very demanding game, so I know Vinny's going to get into that. But before we do, um, I wanted to give Vinny a new game, and I know you've had a lot on your plate, so this is a very easy one. It's a very simple For Your Consideration for you over the next 2 weeks. You have 2 full weeks to play the introduction to the game Prey. That's all you have to do is beat the intro to Prey. It'll take you maximum 2 hours. Just the intro.
Just
I
the
want to talk about
intro.
the intro. Yeah, it's one of the best video game intros of all time. I
Wow.
need you to play it. Yeah, it is. Um,
Wow. Okay.
I haven't really touched the game past the intro, but I heard it was a good intro. I I played the intro. It's by the way, the category for this For Your Consideration is literally anything on the PlayStation Plus new catalog of games. So when you're finding a game for me, just pick something off that catalog. Um, trying
Okay.
to
Okay.
see what we can do with that. I want to see if there's something on there that speaks to you for me. So what spoke to me for you was Prey. Not a game
Okay.
I've put a lot of hours into, but specifically the introduction, I want to do a deep dive on that. It's been covered plenty of times, but not by us. So
Yeah. I've never played it, so never.
That's perfect.
Isn't there's an earlier Prey game too, right? Isn't there? Or is this like a new series?
So,
I don't know much about Prey.
It's Arcane. It's Arcane.
Okay.
It came out after Dishonored 2, I believe. I think it came out around 2017, I want to say.
Okay.
But it's not a game that I've put a lot of time into, like I already said. I've been meaning to play it. I really have, but plus I've been craving an Arcane game ever since our Deathloop discussion. But it's a really fun intro. You're gonna like it. So that's all you got to do. I figured you needed some time to chill. So this is your chill week, couple of weeks, I should say.
Okay.
So enjoy it, and you got plenty of time to play this. But let's dive into Sifu. Let's you know what? Just go ahead and start talking to me about it because I know you have a lot to say. I know you didn't necessarily beat it, but we're gonna go ahead and give our impressions of the game. I can piggyback off of you and talk about. Unfortunately, you might get some things spoiled, but we're gonna try and do it pretty much.
That's fine. It is what it is. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I do want to give my impressions because I do think there's a lot to say about this game, even though I'm probably about, I would say 40 to 45% done with it. I probably have around 6, maybe 7 hours into this game. And let me start off by saying this in my defense. For those of you that are wondering why I didn't beat this game, I had 3 weeks to play this game. This is the issue that I have with Sifu. I think it's an outstanding game. There's no doubt about it. I firmly believe that. But for proper context here for our audience, my last 4 games that I've played, this is my catalog of games. I played Elden Ring. I played Crash Bandicoot 4. I played Cuphead. And I've been playing Hades as well. I have been getting my ass kicked. And I think when I approached Sifu 3 weeks ago, I wasn't aware of this, but I think I was just punched the hell out by hard-ass games. At that point, I was just knocked out by the extreme level of difficulty that these games are kind of knocking me out with. Go ahead. Yeah.
Let me interject really fast. So we talk about transparency this week. It's been sort of a theme of this episode. I'm going to be transparent with you, the listeners. A lot of times we give each other the game on the spot, but for Sifu, I actually texted Vinny, and I can take screenshots and I can post them on our YouTube channel and on our fake Twitter that we don't have because, like I said, I don't do social media, but I'll find a way to get it out there, Vinny. I texted you and I said, hey, listen, just a heads up. I was thinking about giving you Sifu for your consideration. Is that okay? Is that okay? To which you responded, you said that game's hard. And then I said, are you sure? But you said, okay. And then I said, are you sure? I said, are you sure? And you said, yes. I asked you, are you sure? Multiple times. I did it over. I believe I talked to you on the phone about it too. I told you this was a hard game. I knew you had just come off of Deathloop, and I knew I just don't want to come off as inconsiderate giving you a game this difficult.
No, I'm not blaming you for this whatsoever. And apologize if it came off that way.
No, I'm just
But
messing
you're
around.
absolutely right, Anthony. I was ready to go. When you texted me Sifu, I was like, oh hell yeah. I actually wanted to play this game. This will be fun. And you had texted me, hey, it's pretty hard. Like I'm warning you. You kind of gave me that warning message, and I was like, "No, I'll be fine. I think I'll get through it." I feel pretty confident at that point. But I think I didn't realize how beaten up I was. And let me kind of walk through my process with this game because I haven't even spoken about the game yet. I just wanted to give people a little bit of background.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll go. I don't necessarily know if I want to do spoiler free. I'm just going to talk about
No,
it.
don't
To be
even
honest
worry.
with you, I'm going to go a little off the cuff here. I want to start off with this. I think this game has a 10 out of 10 opening sequence. I think it is such a cool way to introduce you to all of the maneuvers, all
Yeah.
of the it's like a really just really impressive and fun to play introduction sequence when you're kind of aging and you're getting older and you're kind of seeing the developers and the introduction credits, and they're kind of teaching you all the moves as the credits are going through, as it's kind of presenting you with the, the synopsis of the game. Such a cool opening sequence, and I was ready to go. After I played that, I was like, oh hell yeah, like this is fun. This is a lot of fun. It is an interesting story. Like I'm
Yeah.
actually like genuinely interested in what's going to happen in the story. And I played through that first level and I was loving it. My issue with the way that I play this game, and I know it's an issue and I'm trying to like embed it in my head right now because I'm stuck at the end of the second sequence. I want this game to play like Batman Arkham. I genuinely feel that when I play this game. I want
Batman
to
Arkham.
what I mean by that is the parry system. Like I want to, even though I guess there isn't necessarily parries in, I guess more of a Ghost of Tsushima is probably the way that I kind of envision this game going, right?
Okay.
Assassin's
Okay,
Creed
that I
sort
could
of
see.
style with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
parries. The problem is the parries don't work all the time, and I keep trying to parry in this fucking game. This game is so hard. Okay? The first level is so much fun. I was actually
Yeah.
kicking ass. In the first level, I was having the time of my life. And then you get to that first boss, and he is just pummeling me. I must have died like 25 times to the first boss. I literally hadn't died up to that point, up to getting to him.
Yeah.
And it requires you to kind of use all of the different mechanics. There's so many different mechanics with the kung fu elements here. It's honestly a little overwhelming, I think. And to go back to that introduction sequence, which I loved, there's almost an issue with it because it kind of glosses over some of the stuff that you genuinely need to succeed. It'll show it to you one time, and then that's it. And then you kind of forget about it. You play through the first sequence. All I'm doing is parrying and punching. That's basically all I did through the first sequence. And then I got to the second level, and this thing kicked my ass so bad. I realized how bad I was at the game when I got to the second level. That was when I was like, oh my God, like I'm literally dying to every individual person at least 3 times. It was very
Really?
embarrassing. It was I was really bad at the game. So
Wow.
I've been going back. There's actually a dummy. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a dummy at the headquarter area. And I think what I'm trying to learn right now, and I can't wrap my head around it, is dodging kind of the character's head left to right. You have to do that in order to kind of dodge certain moves, upper right punches, upper left punches, and I can't figure it out. I'm like trying so hard, and that's why I go back to playing the game like Ghost of Tsushima. My mind naturally wants to parry everything on time, on cue, which works 70, maybe 60, 50% of the time, but then you get to the boss at the second world, and he is impossible. I cannot beat this guy. He's such a pain in the ass. Let me discuss a little bit about what I love about this game, because I want to give it credit, because I think it's a outstanding game.
Yeah.
And I think I reached the point where I discussed it, for proper context, I've been playing these games that have been kicking my ass. This is the game I'm going to go to when I'm craving that kind of game, which is inevitably going to happen. I'm going back to Sifu as soon as I'm craving a game that genuinely I want to kind of learn its mechanics, and it's fair. It's fair, but it's punishing at the same time. It forces you to learn all the different mechanics. Anthony, you told me kind of, through phone as I was talking to you, I was getting my ass kicked. You said that all you got to do is duck, and I'm going to try that out. I'm going to see if maybe that helps my situation. I don't know. I'm probably going to play some tonight, to be honest with you. I want to beat this guy. I genuinely want to keep playing. I think that the music in this game is 10 out of 10.
Oh
This
my
is
god.
this is so cool. The nightclub level, the second level, I've
It's
played
so
through it like
good.
6 times, and I still
So
am not
good.
annoyed with like. Usually, when you play through something like 6, 7 times, you start getting annoyed at certain things, like the music and things like that. It is so cool. You genuinely feel like you're in like some like Bruce Lee kung fu film. And for anybody that is like a genuine hardcore, even just general fan of the kung fu movies of, the 90s, the 80s, when we saw a lot of those. For me, I don't necessarily have that sort of affection for those films. The closest I have is Rush Hour. That's my connection to kung fu movies, is any Jackie Chan movie of the 90s and early 2000s, right? Rush Hour and
Yeah, that's
what
way
was the other one?
different.
Shanghai Noon. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the only connection that I have to these,
Right.
kung fu movies, which is a
Right.
little upsetting because I know if I was like a huge kung fu movie fan, I would love this game because it genuinely puts you into those. And I know I've only played the first 2 levels, but I could see kind of where it's going. It kind of puts you in those sequences that those films are kind of known for, right? The hallway scene in the first level
Oh my
when you just
god.
kick everyone's ass is so cool. And they're all like just sitting there with their bats, and it like kind of transitions the camera angle around a lot, and such a cool opening sequence. And that was the point of the game where I was like, man, I'm beating this tonight. Like, I'm genuinely going to beat this in one playthrough. I can't wait. I'm having a ton of fun. And then, like I said, I beat the first boss, and the second world just kicked my ass over and over
I'm
again.
beating this to oh my god, that's so
And
funny.
there's the nightclub level, the second level, which is awesome. And I love everything about the setting. I think is amazing. And to your point, we kind of spoke about this a few weeks back, and I grew to appreciate it more and more. The use of the dual sense, it adds to this game. It
So good.
genuinely does. And I don't think I
So good.
realized that early on, but you can really feel everything through the different kind of vibrations of the dual sense. When it's raining, you can kind of feel the raindrops on your controller, very similar to the way that kind of like Astrobots did that with like walking on the sand and things like that. You can kind of feel your character walking, and it genuinely adds to that sort of just it's a special game. It
You know
really
what
is. Go
got
ahead.
me with the DualSense was the flies in the first level. When you hear the flies buzzing in your controller, that I literally like
So cool.
started swatting flies away from my head. I thought I had a fly in my
So
room
cool.
like a couple times.
So so cool. Like I said, I really need to have the time to go learn the mechanics. I know this game is going to require me to do that, and I just haven't figured it out yet. I've replayed that second level probably like 8 times now, probably more. As
What
sad as that is, and
what age are
I'm
you in the second level?
I want to say that I'm like I must have died like 25 times to that first boss. I don't know the exact age that I'm at, but my dude's got gray hair,
Okay,
so
so
I'm
that's
assuming I'm pretty old.
that's your first
Yeah.
problem. So that's one of the my favorite mechanics in the game is the aging system. So you need to master the previous level to
Mm-hmm.
actually have a fair fight in the next level. Because if you don't get to that next level and you're in your 20s still, you're gonna get walloped. You're not even gonna be able to get to the boss and learn his moves because you're gonna get one death and you're done. So what you should be doing, in my opinion, is mastering that first level. Don't even think about the second level until you get to age 20 on the first level. It's not that bad. It's don't get me wrong, the game will kick your ass and feed it to you, but but um it's not that bad because the levels are exactly the same every time. Now, you compare it to uh Ghost of Tsushima and Batman, a lot of weird comparisons in my opinion. I compare the game to a Souls game and a Mega Man game, which is the second one
Interesting.
I know is kind of weird, but uh, in Mega Man, you need to have a mastery of the levels, and you play through the same level a million times until you master it, and that's what Sifu reminds me of, and they have a boss at the end, so it's very similar to that. But the combat to me is a mixture of Dark Souls and Absolver, obviously their prior game, but Absolver was too confusing for me. The combat system and the stances, and this is a much more simplified and approachable version of that. So I really think once it clicks for you, it'll click for you. I'm hoping. Because you can definitely skate through that. You can coast through that first level without knowing what the hell you're doing. You really can. If you really want to, need to. But yeah, man, it's wow. I didn't realize you were gonna struggle this much with it. It's
Yeah, it's kicking my ass.
you need
I'm
to
not good at it. I'm really bad.
you really need to so you hold L1, right? And you press down on the one of the triggers, the left trigger, right trigger, whichever
Yeah.
trigger. It's been a few months since I played, but um and you duck down, like I was telling, like you mentioned earlier. I told you about that. That's good for almost every single blow. You know, there's some sweeps and stuff that you have to. So when you press up on the trigger, you dodge the sweeps. When you press down on the trigger, you dodge like the body and head blows. So, but like the only person that you really need to worry about sweeps on is that girl on the dance floor that does all the kicking moves in the second
Yes.
level. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the first level, you can pretty much dominate that first boss and that first level by just holding L1 and pressing down on the joystick. I'm telling you, try it. It works.
I'm gonna have to.
Yeah,
Because I'm gonna have to figure out something.
and then get to the second boss or the second level when you're 20 or at least 25, you know? And then you just play that level and you play it 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 until you finally get to the point where you have a mastery of the level. And that's what makes this game so brilliant. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's only, I think, I want to say 5 levels, maybe 6. I'm pretty sure it's 5. But once you know how to beat a level, you feel like an absolute master. You're just like destroying everything, and you think it would get repetitive and boring, and it is repetitive, don't get me wrong, but it is never boring. It's never boring. I don't know how it does it, but every single time I died, every single time I was addicted to getting to the next level at age 20. So like I didn't even go to level 3 until I want to say I was like 24. So I only died to the final boss like 2 or 3 times. But it was actually the 2 people before the final boss that kept kicking my ass. Not the actual final boss. The final boss in World 2, maybe we'll do like a share play or something and I can show you.
I was gonna say, yeah.
He's easy. He's easy once you figure him out. So hit me up. Maybe I'll share play it. I'm getting, this is making me excited to play Sifu. I'll be honest with you. But I can show you what I did to that boss to just wreck him. He barely hit me one time, and it's like literally the same. He does like a sweeping move, and you just do duck, 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 and then you dodge out of the way, and then you make sure you have your L2. You hold L2, and you do it's like a roundhouse kick, one of those special moves that you get where you slow time down. You do your roundhouse kick, and you put him on the ground, and you kick him a couple times, and you just repeat it like literally over and over again.
Interesting.
But go on, let me give you the floor back because I could talk about this game forever.
No, you're fine. I mean, I have been trying and trying, and I'm trying different things. I think right now I'm hoping that I might be making it more complex than what it is. I think like I said, I want to play this game a different way than the game wants me to play it, if that makes any sense. Because I just naturally want to parry all the time.
Yeah, that's
and I'm trying to master that. I'm trying to master kind of the way the game is played, and I'm not even at the point of memorizing the levels. I really haven't even gotten to that point where I can approach the levels and memorize different patterns and things like that. But let me just say this also. I'm happy this game exists because this is kind of a genre, kind of a type of game that we never really see. Like a kung fu style game, like fully kung fu karate sort of game. This is a very unique game. This is something that I really think there's probably games like it, but I haven't really played anything like this. Have you? I don't have any other sort of kung fu karate type games that I've played recently.
I mean, the other game I would compare it to is like a beat 'em up game. like a Streets of Rage or a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of those arcade beat 'em ups. But and I
Sure.
think you can make that argument, but it's not as much. It's not like that as much as you think it is at first, glance. But no, no, no. This game's very unique. It's very unique, and it's so tight. When you knock somebody out and you like give them like a flurry of punches, and then you do one of your special moves, and oh my god, it's just the combat.
Feels really good.
It feels so good. It might be the best feeling combat I've ever played. Honestly, it's definitely up there as far as hand to hand combat. It's certainly up there for me.
Yeah.
But no, to answer your question, I don't think I've played anything quite like it.
Yeah, it just felt really unique. And I love the setting. I cannot emphasize that enough. I think that they're because what you're telling me is mastering the levels. That to me is actually kind of exciting because I get to go back and play these levels over and over again. They're not like annoying levels. It's not an annoying thing to have to go back to the club and replay this whole area for the seventh time. It's not, like you said, it doesn't really, it is repetitive, but it's not boring, or it doesn't make you feel like, you're not getting anywhere, if that makes any sense. Like, you feel like you're kind of progressing every single time. Now, me right now, the last three sessions, the last like three times that I've played through the damn level, I feel like I'm getting nowhere, but that's because I'm trying to learn the combat more so than anything. And it's taking me a lot of time to learn. I'm
Yeah.
happy that you gave me this game. It's so unique, and I have no doubt. I will say this: I have no doubt that I'm going to beat this game. I
Wow.
really
Okay.
genuinely believe that because I really am enjoying it. I really know this game is special. I could tell it is. I just need that time to figure everything out. And I also have to be, we talk a lot about timing in video games, and you got to be kind of in the right mood. That's why I discuss kind of like that. I've been playing Cuphead. I've been playing, all these brutal difficulty games. And I told you that, yeah, no, I'm totally fine playing Sifu. I wasn't. I know that I didn't realize that how goddamn hard this game was going to be for me. I was not expecting that. So I
Yeah.
have no doubt in my mind, though, I'm going to beat this game. I
Well,
really firmly believe that.
yeah,
So
and I will
I'm
say
happy
this.
you gave it to me.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I will say this though. For the for your consideration segment, it's designed to be. We suggest a game to each other. You play it for 2 weeks, and you review it at the end. But we discussed before we even started the podcast. There's going to be situations that come up where we're like, "I hated this game. I don't want to play it," or "This game's too hard," or I suck at video games." Like, no, I'm just kidding.
Yes.
But there's gonna be situations where we just don't beat it. But what I'm more than happy to do is when you are ready to give a all-encompassing review, we'll just make it another topic before the for
Yeah.
your consideration. So we'll almost have like a double whammy one episode. But this is good enough for me, and I hope it's good enough for our listeners, because I think this was good. And that's part of the segment is, hey, this game's too hard. It's too hard for me right now. It's really difficult, and I think once it gets in your head, like it got into my head, you're not going to be able to put it down. Like, I was literally going to work, and the only thing I could think about was coming home and playing Sifu. I played it nonstop until I beat it, and then I beat it again. There's like a
Wow.
a secret ending that you can get, and I beat the whole, because it was exactly like Bloodborne for me, because I got like a bad ending in Bloodborne, and I was like, well, I know the entire layout of the game, and I was a new game plus, and I steamrolled it. I did it in a day. There's like a secret way to beat the bosses, and this isn't really a spoiler because they don't really tell you this, but you can pacify the bosses. So instead of killing them at the end, you can pacify them, but you have to have already
Interesting.
beaten the game. Yeah. So I went and I did that, and I got whatever. I wanted to go for the platinum in it, but there's some tough trophies. But anyway, the point is, when you're ready, you can give us some more impressions if you want. By no means do you have to. You can put it down and maybe pick it up next year. Who knows? But if you really think you're gonna beat it, I definitely want to hear more about what you think, because the game only gets better and it only gets harder. But the other the other ironic thing is you only get better, and you don't get any more. You have like an array of moves at your disposal, and you gain. I want to say it's called structure. I think. Um, it's like your poise sort of, and you do have upgrades, but the biggest upgrade in Sifu is your skill level. That's really all there is to it. Either you're good at it or you're not. And that's something I really respect about the game. But we'll come back to it eventually. I feel, as long as you feel that strongly about it. Um, the last thing I have to say before we wrap up this episode, and I know you mentioned it already, I really need to shout this guy out, Howie Lee, the composer of Sifu. This soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks that meshes so well with the game. One of the best I've ever experienced, ever, ever. It was so good that I don't typically do this. I know a lot of people like to listen to soundtracks of video games. The only video game soundtrack that I've literally gone out of my way to listen to was Mega Man 2, Doom Eternal, and Sifu. Those are probably, and Donkey Kong Country, but that's more for the nostalgia factor. But like actual genuine songs that I wanted to listen to were the three I mentioned earlier. Um, I thought it was the same composer as Doom Eternal because it gives me that same sort of vibe. But that's just a compliment to this guy. It's not. His name's Howie Lee, and it has that similar sort of what's the word? It's like a persistent, like underlying beat mixed with just accents of that really just go with the
goes
sort
with
of
the gameplay
flow of the level. Yeah, it's dude, it's good, man. It's I don't know how you feel about Doom Eternal's soundtrack, but it's for me it's neck and neck between this and that as the two best soundtracks in video games.
Yeah, like I said, that was one of the first things that stood out to me was, holy shit, this sounds really cool. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm in an actual movie right now, and what you're doing kind of adds to the music as you're kind of playing through. It's really unique. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm happy you gave him a shout out because, holy cow, like 10 out of 10 music,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think is so important in games is a soundtrack, and this game knocks it out of the park from that standpoint. It really does. I'm happy you did that shout out because it's well deserved.
Yeah. Well, if there's nothing else for you to say about Sifu for now, I think we're just about done, Vinny. Is there anything else you have to say to these lovely people before we sign off?
No, I will say this: we need to get some crappy games going in this for your consideration. We're very positive about each other's games. When am I have to give you a game that is total shit so that
Like
we
on
can just shit
purpose?
on a game for an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that down the pipeline. I might just give you a game that I know is trash, but maybe I'll build it up to be great,
No.
and
No,
you can
let's just
just
make
trash
that
on it for an hour.
let's make that the
I'm
genre.
only playing. I would be very Oh, worst games ever played. Oh god.
Yeah, we'll
Oh
make
jeez.
that a
Maybe we
genre.
will. Yeah.
Shit, we'll do that next week. If you really want, we'll
Yeah.
not next week, next round, I should
For your
say. We'll do
consideration.
that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Worst games ever played.